Kahalalim la Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Bahashem Chaha Kodesh. As it's written, let the elders of Israel become the worthy of the honors, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine, which are the Presbyterian of Great Millstone, beginning with the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders on down. Peace and salutation to all the Akim of the hopeful elect. May Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Bahashem Chaha Kodesh Barakatham. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, whom the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh means he to be, he is, he exists. That's the true power of heaven and earth. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his name is Yahweh. Yahweh means he to be, he is, he exists. Yahweh Shai is the true name of his only begotten Son, whom the world ignorantly calls JC. Yahweh Shai means the deliverer or his savior. That's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and the Messiah that came to die for the sins of Israel, beginning the elect. And the Ruach HaKodesh is the Spirit Holy. And these are the names that you're supposed to call upon, especially so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are only among the heathen. They may look like the heathen, but still goes back to the patriarchy of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on your father's side. Just going into it, it's a video that came across while when you had the Olympics recently, and there's a big controversy between the men's and the women's hockey teams, to where they both got invited to go to Trump to go to be in the audience or to witness Trump's State of the Union address. Okay, and the men they accepted the invite, but the women declined. Okay, so that really goes to show you like the state of this man's power, to where his women are not his women basically are being rebellious against him. Okay, it shows you that this man is losing his power. Okay, ultimately, when a nation cannot control its women, when a nation cannot control and ultimately have its women be submissive unto the men of their race. Okay, this becomes problematic. Okay, so these are a telltale sign. Okay, to show you that this man's dominance. Okay, the so-called white man's dominance is dwindling. Okay, to a point where even his own women, are not taking him seriously. Okay, they're not respecting him.
I just thought the joke was distasteful and unfortunate.
We're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something, but if you would like to, it's the coolest night. We have to, I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
Absolutely. The way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to really shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sort of sit, and anybody has to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my...
So you can see, like, Trump, and really this goes on to like all, the so-called, not just Trump, but basically all the men like him. And this is going to ultimately extend to the rest of these Caucasian men, okay? You men is going to lose respect for you, and ultimately that's going to lead to, basically experiencing, the curses, man. The curses that, especially the so-called Negro, Latinos and Native American men have been feeling, okay, to where you men is out of order, okay, she's not submissive unto you, listens unto you. So this is part of when they tell in the scriptures that the Most High will put these curses upon our enemies, okay, and ultimately also they will have to basically drink of the cup which we had to drink. Which is a cup of,
after their spectacular gold medal win at the Winter Olympics, the
right?
U.S. women's hockey team declined President Trump's invite to the State of the Union. And now Flavor Flav is offering to host his own celebration for them. After the U.S. men's...
Flavor Flav. Look at this scripture right here. This book of Esther. So yeah, this actually, when I see this reminded me of this account in the book of Esther, the Apocrypha. Right, actually, it's not in the Apocrypha. It's part of the Old Testament. Basically, you had the account where Queen Esther came into the scene was because the king of the Persian and Medes Xerxes, okay, the same guy that you see in that movie 300. Okay, he had a party and he was trying to invite he invited his queen basically to display her beauty amongst, for his friends, as part of the, party and the revelry, but she refuses to come unto him. So let's go ahead and get this. Let's have, that's the point. So verse, let me see here. Psalm verse 1. Okay, Esther 1 verse 1 and reads, now I'm jump down to the point. Esther 1 verse 1 and reads, and now it came to pass in the days of Axeris, this is Axeris which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia over 107 and 20 provinces. So this king, the king Artaxerxes, he had, his empire was a lot bigger than America. Okay, because he had 127 provinces. Okay, so this, which says, goes from all the way to India, from India to Ethiopia. Okay, but he didn't have his reach on the fourth part of the earth as of yet, which is America. Okay, which we never really got the part of it. But the point of the matter is that his empire was a vast empire. Okay, but he did not conquer the whole. He only conquered the whole known world at the time, right? It says, jump down to verse 3, it says, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. Jump down to verse 9, it says, also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to the king Ahasuerus. Okay, here's a point. Verse 10, on the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Habona, Bigtha, and Abagatha, Zitha, and Carcas, 7 chamberlains that served the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. Right? So he basically wanted to support his woman. It says verse 12, but the queen Vashti refused to come to the king's commandments by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. That right there is a show of defiance. Okay, for you to be, summoned by the king and you refuse to, that's a show of defiance, and that's ultimately what Vashti did. And then we're going to see what happened in the account. But this is the same thing that's happening, with America. With Trump. Trump is like a king. Okay, Trump is the king of Babylon. Okay, but yet, he put an invite to the hockey women's team, the hockey team for women to come to the address, but they refused. Okay, that's a show of defiance. Okay, and rebelliousness. Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew, toward all that knew law and judgment. So he was asked for some counsel. And the next unto him was Kashina, Shetha, Admatha, Shashish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. Verse 18, what shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law, because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus, the chamberlains? And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. Okay, so that one show of defiance was not just on an individual level. That was on a whole, on a whole mass scale level. Ultimately, the point of the matter is that this will be heard abroad, and all the women they would follow after her example. Verse 17, and it reads, for this deed the queen shall be for this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, right? So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say these unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, that shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. Okay, says, if it please the king, let there be a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it not be altered, that Vashti come no more before the king Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Right? And we go into it. This is where Esther, comes in. Which Esther, was found to be the most beautiful of all the women, okay, that were in Persia. Okay, which goes to show you that, which Esther would be a so-called black woman. Okay, going to show you that back then, women had the beauty. Okay, so I have examples like even Sarah. Okay, Abraham's wife. You have Judith. Okay, so some of the women, amongst of our people. Okay, that the beauty was so astounding to where people had to stop and notice. Okay, so so that was the point about as you can see, this was happening right now. With these women, they blatantly refused the King Trump's summoning to the White House. Okay, and this is going under this went unchecked. Therefore, this is going to bring this is going to have a ripple effect to where these women are going to not respect their husbands. Okay, same way these women are showing the France of the president.
That was their first gold since 1980. President Trump invited them to D.C.
We're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something, but if you would like to, it's the coolest night. It's the biggest.
We're in.
Speech.
We're in.
I'd have to bring the women's team. You do know that.
The U.S. women's hockey team also won gold against Canada 2-1 in overtime just a few days before. And Trump's invitation and the team's reaction have drawn criticism. The women's team has publicly declined the invite.
Right. See, so here it is. The one gold. They had opportunity to once in a lifetime to be able to attend. The Union address, but yet they refused. Which that's actually an honor in itself for any American, anyways. Okay, to be able to to refuse that really that speaks volume. Okay, let me score the curses. I bring this out. Like I read earlier, these curses are falling upon our enemies. To where you women will not, you women will not respect you, right? This book of Deuteronomy 30:7 and it reads, "And the Lord Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee." The curses are found in the book of same book of Deuteronomy 28. It's good the point. And our enemies, the list of our enemies can be found in Psalms, the 83rd chapter. The top of the list is Esau, the so-called white race, okay, which is known in the scriptures as Esau, Edom. Okay, Deuteronomy 28, so 19 says, "54. Verse 56. So this is part of the curses that that are can be found on the so-called Negroes, and these curses are going to shift over to the so-called Caucasians. All right, this is the book of Deuteronomy 28, verse 56, and it reads, "The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness." And that's literally how the so-called white woman is treated in this society. Okay, these people, Esau Edom, he's really put his woman on a pedestal, right? But guess what? Things are going to change now. It says, "Her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter." So this is about to come upon you Edomites, in a major way. It's going to be so big. It's going to be in a biblical proportion, man. So these are Christians that's going to be coming onto you, because the example has already been set. So now these women are going to basically find excuse to be able to do exactly like how the women's hockey team did, right? We're going to say, "And toward her young one that cometh out of her from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for the want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates." That's right. So coming to times of great hunger, to where these people are actually going to resort to cannibalism. That's facts, man. Okay, let me end with this. The book of Ecclesiastes 25 verse 7 in the Apocrypha, and it reads, "There be 9 things which I have found in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that hath the joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy." That's right. Right now we live in see the fall of our enemy. It's beautiful, man. You see, and guess what? All you women, all your so-called, precious, white, women, they're going to all resort to seeking to be with a so-called black man. That's the facts. This is how things are going to be. The same way, our women, they look towards Esau Edom, as if, is, is perfect. Okay, whenever they go on the jobs, and the bosses, you see how our women treat, their so-called Edomite boss at work. Man, that's like, that's really, that can be compared between a king and his subjects. You see, so ultimately this is going to be reversed, and it's already happening to where these Edomite women, they prefer to be eject men anyways. So guess what? Once the curses are fully realized, that's going to be that's going to be a wrap. Okay. So with that, I'm going to say, "Brata Yahweh, Brata Yahweh Shai," and so come.